Buying a soundbar in 2026 feels like walking into a maze. Every brand promises Atmos, AI tuning, and cinematic bass, but most fall flat once you set them up. That's why today, I'm breaking down the real top 10 soundbars of 2026. Tested in real homes, judged on real sound. And trust me, number 1 shocked me so much I replayed the same movie scene 5 times. Stick around, because this list might change how you hear everything. This channel exists to cut the noise and give you the real truth on soundbars and home theater. Watch till the end so you don't waste your money on the wrong gear. And don't forget, subscribe, like, and share to help more people make the right choice. Number 10. Polk Magnify Max Axe Pro 2026. Let's start with a brand that always surprises people when it makes these lists, Polk Audio. Polk isn't usually the first name you think of when it comes to cutting-edge tech. They're not as flashy as Samsung or as premium as Sonos. But here's the thing. Polk quietly keeps building soundbars that punch way above their price. And in 2026, their Magnify Max AX Pro proves it again. The first time I fired this thing up, I wasn't expecting much. It's marketed as a budget-friendly Dolby Atmos bar, and we've all heard that line before. But within the first 10 minutes of a Dolby Atmos demo, I found myself double-checking the price. Because the soundstage felt wide. Not gimmicky wide, actually immersive. Movies like Top Gun, Maverick felt alive, with jets ripping across the room. Dialogue stayed clear, even with bass explosions rattling the sub. And here's the kicker. Polk includes a wireless subwoofer that actually feels premium. No weak, rattling box. This thing hits hard for the money. But the real secret weapon? Voice adjust technology. Polk's tuning lets you bump up dialogue levels separately without wrecking the mix. And for anyone who watches late-night movies or has a living room that loves to swallow voices, that's a lifesaver. Still, don't get me wrong. The Magnify Max AX Pro isn't perfect. Compared to the premium giants higher on this list, it lacks a little sparkle in the highs, and the surround effect isn't as deep as the big boys. But remember, this soundbar costs less than half of what those monsters do. And in that price range, it's a beast. Now here's the suspense. If Polk made it into the top 10, you can already imagine how fierce the competition gets from here. Because the next bar on this list doesn't just punch above its weight. It redefines what you expect at its price. Number 9. Hisense Ultimate Atmos Bar 2026. When you hear Hisense, your first thought is usually TVs, budget TVs, to be exact. And honestly, most people overlook their soundbars completely. But in 2026, Hisense made a move that caught me off guard. They dropped the Ultimate Atmos Bar, and let me tell you, this thing is no cheap afterthought. The design looks clean, almost Sonos-like, but what's inside is where it flexes. We're talking 11 channels of sound, powered by AI-enhanced calibration that maps your room in seconds. I tested it in a medium-sized living space, and the way it bounced sound off the walls was shockingly accurate. Bass. Surprisingly deep for a company that's not known for audio. The wireless subwoofer doesn't just thump. It gives you that chest-hit impact when explosions fire off. Watching John Wick, Chapter 4 with this setup actually made me grin, because I wasn't expecting Hisense to hold its own against the giants. But let's be real, it's not perfect. Vocals don't feel as clean as Bose or Sonos, and sometimes the highs can get a little sharp at louder volumes. Still, here's the crazy part. For its price, the Ultimate Atmos bar punches way above expectation. Think of it this way. Hisense is the underdog that nobody saw coming. And in 2026, they've proved they deserve a seat at the big table. But don't get comfortable yet, because the next soundbar isn't just an underdog. It's a comeback story, a brand that nearly lost the soundbar race and suddenly came back swinging. Number 8. LG S1000R 2026 flagship. Here's a confession. A few years ago, LG soundbars were fine. Not bad, not mind-blowing, just fine. But in 2026, LG looked at the market and said, "We're not here to be fine. We're here to dominate." And that's exactly what they tried with the LG S1000R. This thing is a monster, a flagship through and through. It ships with a full wireless rear speaker kit, a subwoofer that looks like it belongs in a club, and Dolby Atmos performance that finally feels on par with Samsung's best. Setup was a breeze. LG has clearly worked on making their ecosystem cleaner. Pairing the rears? Instant. AI room tuning? Slick and effective. But here's what blew me away: the balance. Some bars go too heavy on bass, some go too sharp with highs, but the S1000 are nails that cinema sweet spot. Explosions hit hard, sure, but dialogue cuts through beautifully. And when I tested music, I honestly forgot I was listening to a soundbar. Vocals sounded alive, the stage felt wide, and bass guitars had texture instead of just boom. It gave me chills, and that's not something I say lightly. But here's the cliffhanger. LG might have nail balance, but does it have the power to beat the heavyweights like Samsung and Sonos at the very top? That's where things get interesting, because higher up this list, we're dealing with pure giants. Number 7. JBL Bar 1400X 2026 upgrade. JBL has always been that brand you see everywhere. Car audio, Bluetooth speakers at parties, headphones at the gym. They've mastered the art of making sound fun. And in 2026, they've turned their attention back to the living room with the JBL Bar 1400X, the successor to the already impressive 1300X. Here's the kicker. JBL is one of the few brands that doesn't play safe. The Bar 1400X ships with detachable wireless speakers that you can literally pull off the main bar, drop behind you, and boom, instant surround setup. No wires, no drama, no excuses. And trust me, the first time you feel bullets whizzing behind your head in the Batman, yeah, it's magic. The bass is classic JBL, bold, punchy, a little show-offy. Watching Fast X on this thing was pure chaos in the best way possible. Explosions shook the room, car engines roared, and still, I could hear every piece of dialogue. That balance? That's where JBL nailed the tuning this year. Now, it's not perfect. Audiophiles might argue the highs could be a bit more refined, and the detachable rears don't hit as hard as dedicated wireless speakers. But here's the truth. For the price, JBL makes sound fun. And fun is something too many soundbars forget. But here's the twist. While JBL makes movies exciting, the next bar on our list is all about cinema realism. And it doesn't just want to entertain you, it wants to convince you you're actually in the theater. Number 6. Sony HT A9000 2026 flagship. Sony has been building home entertainment gear for decades, and their soundbars have always had this reputation. Clean, cinematic, precise. But in 2026, they dropped their most ambitious flagship yet, the Sony HT A9000. The moment I unboxed it, I knew Sony was chasing perfection. The design screams premium, with a brushed metal finish that feels more like high-end audio gear than a simple bar. But the real magic starts when you fire it up. Dolby Atmos on the HT A9000 doesn't feel forced. With some bars, you know the height effects are being faked. Here, it felt like the ceiling itself became part of the system. Watching Dune Part 2 with this bar was an experience I'll never forget. Sandstorms didn't just sound big, they sounded endless. Voices carried with depth. The soundstage stretched so far I forgot I was in a living room. And then there's the subwoofer. Sony tuned it for detail, not just brute force. Explosions had weight, but even subtle moments, like the low hum of a spaceship, carried emotion. Pair it with their wireless rear speakers, and you've got one of the most cinema-accurate experiences of 2026. But here's the cliffhanger. Sony nails realism. But realism isn't always what everyone wants. Some people want excitement, energy, power that makes you feel alive. And those soundbars? They're coming higher on this list. Number 5. Bose Smart Ultra Soundbar 2026 Refresh. Bose has always had this reputation. Smooth sound, clean design, and mass appeal. Some audiophiles love to hate them, others swear by them. But in 2026, Bose updated their Smart Ultra soundbar, and it's honestly one of their sharpest releases in years. Here's why. Bose isn't chasing the biggest subwoofer or the loudest volume. Instead, they chase clarity, that every word is crystal clear experience. And man, if you're a dialogue junkie, this soundbar is pure bliss. Watching Oppenheimer on the Bose Ultra, I didn't miss a single line of Cillian Murphy's whisper-heavy performance. Even when the soundtrack swelled and the nukes roared, dialogue just cut through like a knife. But what makes this Bose stand out in 2026 is how effortless it feels. Setup? Foolproof. Controls? Slick. Streaming integration? Seamless. It's one of those bars you buy, plug in, and it just works. The wireless subwoofer is tight and balanced. Not earth-shattering like Samsung's monsters, but tuned enough to give impact without muddying the mids. Here's the trade-off, though. Bose still plays it safe. If you want bone-rattling bass or wild surround immersion, this isn't the one. It's made for people who want elegance, balance, and comfort. And for that crowd, Bose still holds the crown. But let me tell you, the next soundbar doesn't care about comfort. It's wild, aggressive, and it wants to turn your living room into a concert hall. Number 4. JBL Partibar 1500 2026 Limited Edition. Now, JBL surprised me here. Most brands stick to yearly updates, safe tweaks. But JBL in 2026 said, forget safe, let's go bold. Enter the JBL Partibar 1500, a limited edition beast built for one thing: energy. The Party Bar is basically what happens when you take a concert PA system and squeeze it into a home theater form factor. The wireless subwoofer is oversized, the detachable surrounds are beefier than before, and the tuning? It's aggressive. Explosions slam you in the chest, EDM drops make your windows rattle, and even sports broadcasts feel like you're in a stadium. Now, some people will say it's too much, and they're not wrong. Dialogue clarity isn't as surgical as Bose. Cinematic detail isn't as refined as Sony. But if you want to feel alive, if you want your soundbar to double as a party system, the Party Bar 1500 is unapologetically built for you. And here's the thing. JBL is marketing this as a fun-first system. It's not pretending to be the most accurate. It's about excitement. And in that lane, no one else competes. But here's the suspense. Papa, we're only halfway up the mountain. And the higher we go, the more dangerous the competition gets. Because the top 3 soundbars, these aren't just products, they're statements from their brands about who really dominates 2026. Number 3. Samsung Q990D 2026 flagship. If you followed Samsung's soundbar journey, you know they've been pushing the envelope year after year. The Q990C in 2023 shook the market. The Q990C refresh in 2024-25 held the crown, and now 2026 brings the Samsung Q990D. And let me say this, the Q990D is like Samsung saying, we heard you. Now we've gone nuclear. We're talking 1.6 channels of raw, cinematic power, dedicated up-firing drivers? Check. Rear speakers that aren't just satellites, but full-on surround monsters? Double check. Bass that rattles not only your couch, but your ribcage? Oh, absolutely. But here's what makes the Q990D different from last year's C model. Samsung has perfected adaptive AI audio tuning. This means whether you're in a small room, a wide-open living space, or even an awkwardly shaped corner setup, the Q990D listens, adapts, and reshapes itself to sound incredible everywhere. Movies feel massive, games feel alive, and music finally feels like Samsung is taking on Sonos and Bose in the clarity department. It's not just loud, it's smart, precise, and cinematic. Still, some critics argue it's too much, that it overwhelms small spaces. But let's be honest, if you're buying a flagship like this, too much is exactly what you want. But here's the real shocker. As good as Samsung is, they're not number 1 this year. There's still 2 names left that did the unthinkable. Number 2, Sennheiser Ambeo Max 2026 edition. To replace the duplicate Sony slot, we bring in Sennheiser's 2026 Ambeo Max. Because honestly, leaving out Sennheiser in a top 10 of 2026 list feels incomplete. True 3D Ambeo processing. Unlike other soundbars that rely mostly on physical channels, Sennheiser leans on advanced 3D virtualization that actually convinces your brain walls and ceilings disappeared. The updated Max model is sharper, cleaner, and even more convincing. Built like a tank, this isn't a slim living room bar. It's wide, heavy, unapologetic, a statement piece. And in 2026, they've refined it so it doesn't just look like pro gear, it feels smoother in setup. Bass without a subwoofer. The Ambio Max still pulls off what most bars can't, delivering chest-thumping bass without needing a separate sub. But you can now add the Ambio sub too if you want to push it further. Immersion for audiophiles. While Samsung and JBL focus on energy and Sonos on balance, Sennheiser appeals to purists who want spatial realism with musical integrity. So instead of 2 Sony entries, your list now has 1 flagship Sony, number 6, and a powerhouse Sennheiser, number 2. That keeps the lineup premium, diverse, and exciting. Number 1. Sonos Arc Ultra 2026 Crown King. Here's the twist no one saw coming. The Sonos Arc Ultra, launched in 2026, isn't just an upgrade. It's a complete redefinition of what a soundbar can be. For years, Sonos Arc was praised for clarity, dialogue, and its seamless integration with streaming. But critics said it's not powerful enough. It can't match Samsung's surround immersion. It's too niche. Well, Sonos heard the criticism, and in 2026, they answered with the Arc Ultra. Let's break it down. 14 drivers, including 6 up-firing Atmos channels. This isn't the Arc you remember. It's bigger, bolder, and cinematic. TruePlay AI Room Calibration 2.0. Every single listener in the room hears optimized sound, not just the person in the sweet spot. Wireless ecosystem expansion. Now, Sonos allows dual subs and quad surround for the first time. Suddenly, Sonos is no longer the sleek option. It's the full home theater killer. Dolby Vision plus Dolby Atmos sync. The Arc Ultra doesn't just play sound. It syncs with your visuals in real time if you're on supported TVs. Explosions hit harder because the screen tells the soundbar when to peak. Now, here's the emotional punch. Sonos has always been about simplicity with power. With the Arc Ultra, they've achieved what no other soundbar brand has, delivering hi-fi precision, theater-level immersion, and lifestyle-friendly design in one package. It's the system audiophiles respect, families can use, and casual binge watchers will brag about. And the verdict? The Sonos Arc Ultra is the best soundbar of 2026. It doesn't just win because of specs. It wins because it's the only one that feels like the future of home entertainment. Smart, immersive, and beautifully human. So, now you know, Samsung gave us raw power, Sony gave us precision, but Sonos redefined the entire game. But let me ask you, if you had the choice between Samsung's thunder, Sony's finesse, and Sonos' balance of both, which would you crown as your personal winner in 2026? Drop your pick in the comments. I'll be watching closely.